Chapter 10 Later Never Comes. By the following day, Chomper, Screech, and Thud left the Great Valley, going across the mysterious beyond. If they found a dead body, they'd eat their fill and return, though the Fastbiters were unaware of Chomper's true intentions. For when a corpse couldn't be located, they'd go close to the big water, moving in one direction, then going in the opposite. Chomper usually stuck to his fish diet, trying to see how far the beach stretched. The venture took days at a time, Chomper desperate to find a way across. When he, Screech, and Thud made it back to the valley, he was greeted by Ruby.
"Chomper!"
Ruby rushed forward and hugged him, embracing him tightly.
"I was so worried about you."
"I'm fine, Ruby. No need to worry."
"What kept you away so long?"
She stood back, gazing up with a concerned expression. While she didn't want to make a fuss and enjoyed being among friends and family, she still worried for his safety, especially with the killer pack on the loose.
"The gang were asking about you, wanting answers I didn't have."
Well, I'll tell you about it later. For now, let's go see the gang since they missed me so much." Chomper hated to withhold information, yet didn't want her to know the truth, the burden he carried. Though she wanted to press further, she said nothing and followed him to see the gang. The gang was by a nice spot where all could sit comfortably, along with Allie, Rhett, and Shorty. Chomper and Ruby approached, hearing them talk.
"So, Shorty, how come you're still single?"
Allie asked. Just haven't met the right one. From what I recall, you had your sights on Sarah here," Rhett added with a mischievous grin, meaning no harm, only teasing. "Yeah, that was some mess we all got in. Remember the confusion we all had?" "Oh, how could one forget?" Littlefoot chimed in.
"But they all worked out. For each of us,"
Sarah said, looking at Littlefoot and smiling. "Hey, Chomper! Long time no see!" Rhett called, happy to see the Sharptooth after so long. "Hi, Rhett. How are you?" "Great. Allie and I really like the Great Valley life, especially the safety it provides for our young." Rhett glanced to where the kids played, making friends with the valley children. "Are you two hoping to have young?"
"Oh, well, Rhett, considering Chomper and I aren't the same."
"Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot and put my foot in my mouth again."
"Do you two plan on staying here?"
Allie asked.
"For the time being, right, Chomper?"
"Yeah, for now," Chomper added. It was nice catching up with her friends and talking about time gone by, yet Ruby couldn't help but escape the fact she knew Chomper was holding back, keeping something from her. It bothered her, for it meant he didn't fully trust her. If he didn't fully have faith in her, did that mean he might not truly love her back? That evening, she and Chomper made their way back to the secret caverns.
"Chomper, is there something you wish to say? Something you should not be saying but you really should be saying?"
Chomper stopped and sighed. "Ruby, well, we'll talk about it later. Ugh, for now, could I get some rest?"
Sure,"
Ruby replied, seeing him lay down to sleep. With a sigh, she made herself comfortable by him, lulled by his steady breathing. The next day, they left to mingle with the others, Rhett introducing Chomper to their young. "This is Chomper, the friendly Sharptooth who I first thought was mean. The gang planned this elaborate prank on me, causing quite a mess." "I remember that, having to run for my life from the old one's herd," Chomper put in, recalling it all too well.
"The lesson is never judge someone based on their exterior, but who they are on the inside,"
Allie said, seeing the young study Chomper. It was the first time they saw a Sharptooth close up, at least one that didn't try to hurt them. Ruby knew Chomper hadn't seen the gang in a long time, she herself able to talk with them every day. It must have been hard to be separated from those he held so dear for so long. Thus, she kept the questions bottled up, letting days go by. When Chomper grew hungry, the three left, Chomper bidding Ruby farewell. "We'll be back in a few days, maybe later."
"Okay."
Ruby patted his muzzle.
Are you sure there's not something you wish to share with me?
I'll tell you later, okay? He licked her beak. That way she couldn't press further. I love you.
Huh. And I see you,
Ruby said softly. With that, he left Ruby, feeling a sinking sense, knowing he wasn't planning on telling her at all. The following day, sky water poured from the gray clouds, and Ruby was cooped up in the caverns, gazing out and wondering how Chomper was making out. By the big water, Chomper walked against the storm, looking out to find anything, any sign of land, though all he saw was great waves, crashing against the rocky ledge he stood. Wind howled, and he heard it, the voice, calling again. It was the time of the rising water, and thus sky water fell for days on end. In the valley, the young enjoyed it, playing in the puddles, while the adults made sure to keep an eye out for them, not wanting any to get swept away in the rivers and streams that overflowed by the amount of water that channeled into them. By the end of the season, Ruby was glad when Chomper returned.
How was the trip?
Fine. Long and tiring, Chomper stated, seeing Screech and Thud curl up to rest. He gave her a half smile, wanting to sleep too. Mind if I get some shut-eye before we talk?
We can talk once you wake up.
Ruby watched him get settled, going out for a run and hoping he'd be willing to talk once she got back. Of course, he insisted they talk later. The following days were spent Chomper exploring and seeing the old places they used to play. When they came back to the caverns, Ruby was there.
Chomper, we need to talk.
We have been talking, Ruby.
Yes, but I know there's something on your mind, something you keep to yourself.
I'll tell you later.
You said later before, and later it is. How long are you going to keep me out?
You couldn't possibly understand, okay?
Then explain it to me. Help me understand.
I'm sorry, Ruby. I just can't put it into words.
We used to be so close. Tell each other everything when we were little. I thought we'd be that close again.
A lot has changed, Ruby. Did you honestly think I'd be the same? That was years ago. We were two very different beings back then than who we are now.
Do you still love me?
Chomper saw her eyes grow glassy, feeling his own get moist. I do love you, Ruby. I just have to do this alone. I was alone for so long. It's hard to get out of that frame of mind. I'll explain it all later. I promise.
Don't make a promise you can't keep.
Giving her a small nuzzle, he went to leave. I'm going out again. I'll be back later. Ruby stood and heard him walk away, going and watching him get Screech and Thud. She placed her hand to her beak and felt tears roll down her face. True, they didn't yell or shout, but it sure felt like a fight.
When we first met, your heart was free. Your hopeful eyes saw all of me. And now you're looking for something I could never be. When you were really all I need. You keep on telling me later, but later never comes around. Please stop telling me later, as you search for what just can't be found. Take my hand, come with me now and we'll fly free. No more later, we both know that's a lie. Don't let this be the day I say goodbye.
The three Sharptooth headed to the mysterious beyond. All unaware, Ruby watched, wanting to see them off. When they were gone, she went to her thinking place, sitting while the night circle hung high in the air. She sighed heavily and wondered if Chomper would ever come back. Did he bring her to the valley, just as his parents had, to keep her safe? But what was he keeping her safe from? The pack who went around killing off the herds? Many thoughts ran through her head, and she fell asleep there, waking when the bright circle rose. Climbing down, she saw Sarah ambling along, heading to Ducky's pond.
"Sarah, don't go without waiting for me,"
Ruby called, running to catch up with Sarah. "Ruby? Where's your lover boy?"
"Oh, him? Well, he left for another hunt."
"Really?" Sarah looked Ruby over with a raised brow, picking up that something was off.
"Maybe you can tell me more once we reach Ducky's pond."
Taking the lead, Sarah and Ruby went to the edge of the pond, Ducky rising and chewing on underwater green food. "Hey, Ducky."
"Hello, Ruby and Sarah. Good to see you both."
Getting out, Ducky joined the pair, seeing Spike come over to them.
"Oh, good. Spike's here, too."
"All right. Now that we're all here, spill it, Ruby. What happened?"
"Well, Chomper and I seem to be on the rocks." "Oh, no. Trouble in paradise." "You could say that." "He's been preoccupied and distant. I fear the space is getting bigger and bigger. The more we're apart, the worse it gets."
Sarah, Ducky, and even Spike didn't seem too concerned, only sharing a knowing smile. "Fighting is nothing new, Ruby. Why, the first season cycle Littlefoot and I were together. We fought all the time. Though the making up was even better."
"What Sarah means is, it's always rocky in the beginning, especially since the honeymoon phase is over."
While Ducky spoke, Spike nodded, agreeing with all that was said.
"Even Spike and Tippy found it hard to get along. It was mostly due to who ate what, but they got through it. If it's meant to be, you'll both work it out." "Yeah, but what if we don't?"
"Then you kick him to the side and get yourself a new guy," Sarah spoke bluntly. "If Littlefoot and I didn't work out, I knew Shorty was interested."
"You mean you wouldn't have chosen another three-horn?"
"Of course not. They're too bossy. What about you, Ducky? You and Petrie ever fight?"
"We disagreed on where he should place his nest, on the rock or beside the pond. In the end, we compromised. That's the key. It is. You both give and take. You change me to we. You do."
"Wow, that's very mature of you."
"Thank you, Sarah. But is that not what you and Littlefoot do?"
"No, he knows it's my way or the pathway. As for you, Ruby, you need to get yourself together and lay down the law with Chomper. Let him know who's boss, that you left your home, your family, and your friends to be with him, and that if he can't care about you the way you do for him, well, maybe he should just stay out in the mysterious beyond for good."
"Oh, but Sarah, that's a bit
harsh." "It is true. You do love him and want to be with him. But if he can't take the time to be with you, maybe he's not ready to settle down."
"But we're mated."
"Big whoop. You never needed him before and you don't need him now. Remember, he needs you more than you need him."
"Sarah, is that really how it is between you and Littlefoot?"
"It sure is. He knows he needs me." Spike shook his head and snorted.
"I don't know. Spike might be onto something. The best thing to do is not yell. You don't want to say anything you can't take back."
"Still, you can't allow someone to stomp all over you."
I guess you're right."
"I am right. Right?"
"I suppose."
Ruby listened, and Ducky's advice was the more reasonable one, while Sarah stood her ground. Hating to admit it, she gravitated towards Sarah, feeling the anger build and the hurt get the better of her. When Chomper came back, she'd give him an earful, tell him what she hoped they could be. If he wasn't interested, she'd break it off and go her own way.